Right, I'm Pete Farrar. I've played mostly in the forwards, but I've been all over, not quite as much as Brad. Brad's been everywhere. Sexual orientation, I'm gay. Pronouns, he, him, or mush. My Outlaws number is 29. And today I'm speaking to the legend, that is Bradley Collier. Bradley, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Bradley Collier. My position is hooker. I'm Outlaws number 63. I'm straight and my pronouns are he/him.
Magic. Right, I'm going to ask you a few questions now, Brad. So one question is off the beat. How's Hull? How are you finding it? You've been allowed outside yet?
We went a bit during December, or before December, sorry. We messed around a little bit, but other than that, it's just been parties in my flat.
Oh, that's all.
But
yeah, I was like worried, thinking you'd be like a lock-in. I didn't know you'd be locked in with like 70, 80 other people.
yeah, it's it's not too bad. The security's piped down a little bit now, so they let us get away with a little bit. Good. We don't take the piss though. We just have.
No, you've got to be, yeah, of course, yes. Yeah, upstanding members of the community. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Right. I'm going to ask you some questions now, man. I'm just going to do a position questions thing. So just a little bit of blurb. So these questions are aimed at asking about your perception of the LGBT community and that of the rugby community in general, and how you saw them previously versus to how you see them now. Okay. So straight into the first question, see how you feel. So first question. What comes to mind when you think of LGBT spaces or groups, such as the Boston or Q Space, etc.? What do you think?
The first thing I think is people I'll get along with.
Yep.
No twats.
Oh, there's a few, man. There's a few.
I like from going out with the Outlaws. I don't like going to normal clubs now. Yeah, it's like the Boston. It's my favourite place. Obviously, with
seen you on the dance floor. You're dressed to the nines, I think. Once you're in a waistcoat and everything, giving it large.
Yeah, I just think maximum fun most of the time. Yeah, that's about it's sort of good for girls as well, if you know what I mean, because they're not getting sexually harassed and stuff. That's why every time I take a girl there, they're like, "Oh my god, I love it here," and I'm just like, "Yeah, me too."
I suppose you can dance. It's kind of like, you have a good time. You can, you don't have to guard yourself too much, but it's kind of like so it's like. So you say you prefer it, so like not twat. So not going into too many details. It's all right. So have you had bad experiences and stuff, or just
in normal clubs? I've experienced it as I've gone to uni as well. Everyone just wants a bit of a punch up. Everyone wants to get a bit leery. Mm-hmm. But when I go out, I just want to have a couple of drinks and dance loads. And and like an easy example is, I've been to the Boston 30 times, never had any trouble.
No.
Good. If I went to MB's or something like that in Northampton, someone would push me or start a fight on me, or like, God knows. And since I've been to uni, I think I've had 4 people start on me, and there's not even been any standing up or anything. Everyone's been sat down on tables and stuff, haven't they? Through like lockdown and stuff. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, can you just leave me alone? And
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
But that's sort of my experience of it. It's just, you can go out and you don't have to look over your back all the time. You're in there, and like I don't think I've ever been to the Boston and come out before 6 o'clock.
You've done better than me. You've been in there before me. You've been still in there afterwards. you need your own booze, mate. That's the thing.
Yeah,
but it's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? It's kind of you got this inclusive space, if you like. Everyone's kind of welcome, as long as you're not a dick. Yeah. You just do it, and you can be as loud and as leery as not in a bad way, but enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
You don't get cold on it. It's like, I know what you mean. Yeah, good old. You won't be allowed in the pub yet. Have you got them mapped out yet? You got your pubs mapped out where you going?
We've got a couple near uni, but we know there's some decent ones in town, but we haven't really ventured out that way yet because the unis. You have to get the bus or a taxi to go to the pubs in town, and obviously because there was a 10 p.m. curfew, so we'd just drink in the uni bar every day instead of because we'd start at like 12 at lunchtime and then stay in there till 10, and then it'll be like a full night out then sort of thing. But
oh yeah, and congratulations! You play for the university rugby team, don't you, mate? You captain?
Yeah.
Right?
No, I'm not captain. No.
Not yet.
I'm not really much of a fan of the rugby team here.
Huh?
It was they're all very, very leery, and it's I can't explain it. I've joined the whole Roundheads though, but it's I don't know how it's very like toxic masculinity sort of thing.
Yeah, that's not a shame.
Yeah,
it brings on to the second question quite nicely actually. So, what do you think of a traditional rugby club? Sorry, when you think of a traditional rugby club, what comes to mind?
Yeah, so the toxic masculinity, like that's the classic thing. So my first rugby club I played for Wellingborough. Obviously I loved it there, and I didn't really leave because of that. I left because it got a bit cliquey, and because I left for a year to do kickboxing, and then when I came back, sort of none of them would talk to me like they used to, and it's like we'd sort of drifted apart, and it was a bit. My dad will tell you the same. He was just like, "What?" It's a bit weird. And then that was when I was like almost 16, and then when I turned 16, my dad was like, "Oh, should we go down to the Outlaws training?"
Okay.
And I was like, "Sound." Went down there, and then that sort of I hated rugby when I went to my first training session, and then the Outlaws is what made me want to play rugby again. And then the funny thing is, playing for BBOBs was okay. They were definitely very similar to Wellingborough though, where it's sort of very like toxic and
something to prove.
Yeah, and but I only wanted to go there just to play the rugby. I didn't care about making friends, so I didn't really care. But then I've come to the uni team, and they're probably 1,000 times worse. And
worse.
Yeah, big time. And
would you not think like being younger be a bit more, I don't know, having a bit more an evolved sensibility, you know, maybe that, or is it, I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, it is strange anyway. Like my friend Dan, when I first met him, after 2 weeks of knowing him, like he's my flatmate, he was just like, "Brad, you're gonna quit that rugby team soon." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." It's the worst part about it is I'm older than most of them.
Yeah.
And so when I don't play their sort of games, they don't really like it. And it's
so so I don't know, because surely a team is sport. Because before you could south, we were having a chat with Robbie Boucher, and we were saying about, you know, the power of inclusivity sort of thing with sport, you know, gay, straight, you know, whatever. And it's kind of like how, you know, bringing people in and keeping people is probably the most important thing at our sort of level of rugby. And it seems to me like it's a missed opportunity there, man, for that club. It should be bringing people in. You know?
It was, so I think probably 20 to 30 freshers went to trials. So like first years. And then I think me and my 3 mates were the only ones that got in the first team. And then everyone else was in the second team. Right. And then as training sort of went on, they just, if you weren't absolutely top level of rugby, they just binge you off and would just take the piss out of you the whole time, sort of. Yeah, it wasn't, even when I made a mistake, but I know I'm not the best player in the world, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, one of them was having a go at me because apparently I was in the wrong position. And I looked at Josh and I was like, "You've just told me to stand there." I said, "Where do you want me to stand?" Yeah. You said there. I stood there. and now you're having a go at me. And
a bit of gaslighting going on, sort of thing,
Yeah.
used to give you a kick in, sort of thing.
yeah,
Well, that's their loss, mate. It's their loss.
yeah,
I mean, just think of the loss yourself, I mean, bloody hell. I mean, just think, and you're, tough as old boots. You're kind of like, you can take it. But can you imagine if someone's maybe not quite as, confident as yourself? You know
yeah,
what I mean? That's a scary. That's a shame, man. That really is a shame. So it's like, we all know the love affair with the Outlaws, especially out and about drinking on tour and the rest of it. So that leads to question 3. So what did you think a gay inclusive rugby club would be like? So day one, Dad brings you down, 16. What were you thinking?
To be honest, on the first day, I didn't know it was a gay and inclusive team.
Oh, okay.
And I was training, and because my uncle's gay and my sister's gay, or she's
Go on,
I
mate.
can't remember the word for it now. It's where she likes anyone, she doesn't care who they are.
Pansexual?
Yeah.
Pansexual. Oh, yeah, you go, you see.
And so like she's had boyfriends, girlfriends, like everything. And so I didn't really care. I never had any sort of, I think sometimes I think about it and go, it's a bit funny that I play for an inclusive team. Because it's not, when you mention it to someone, they're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, you're right.
And then my best example is like playing for BBOBs. They'd ask me, why do you play for a gay team? And I was like, or an inclusive team. And I was like, I just have loads of fun. And it's fun. Like that's the best way to describe it. And they'd be like, but there's no need for it. And then I'll be like, I'm not even going to have this argument because you're never going to understand it anyway. So I'll just drop it there. And then 10 seconds later, they'd be like, oh, you're fucking this and you're fucking that. Like giving it all the homophobic slurs. And I'll be like, that's why there's inclusive teams. And they'd be like,
your own point, yeah.
And then they'd be like, but it's just banter. And I'm like, well, is it?
Yeah, the difference. You can tell by the way it's delivered, can't you? And who's delivering it? Because people throw insults at you, but when it's banter, it's kind of, they're giving you something to hit back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To put you into it, not just throwing it at you. Okay. How many years ago? So 16, how old are you now? 20, 29? 22, bloody hell, mate. 22. Oh, mate. 60, you're number 63. What was your first game like? Who did you play?
I'm pretty sure it was either Rushton Thirds or Heathens. I think it was the Heathens.
Stoney.
And I put the ball down on the wrong try line.
Did you?
Yeah. So the try line was like, so normally if you was a normal person and you didn't know where the try line was, you'd look for the posts.
Yeah.
And I saw I'd run pretty far and I was like, I must be close now. Yeah. And I saw a line on the floor. It was a 5 meter line. And I was like, well, that'll do. And I dived on the floor. And then I was like, and everyone was screaming at me like, you swat, what are you doing? And I was like, what? And then I started getting back up. And then I just got nailed by 2 people. Yeah. And I was like, oh, what have I done? And I think that would have been the only time we would have beaten them if I scored that try.
Was it like a 60-yard mazy run, sort of like giving it all that?
Yeah, I think I intercepted it or something. I don't know what I did, but something I never normally do, and then I did something even stupider than that.
But it's kind of like, but it's kind of, the thing is, you didn't need to score. You know what I mean? You'd done the work. It's inclusivity. Yeah. You don't. But it's like that's not. I mean, I know he got injured, so I probably shouldn't laugh. But Frosty, I think you were playing actually. He got through. He was about to put a try. He was about to score a try. He dropped the ball and landed on his shoulder and broke it. Do you remember that one? So not only did he drop it, he hurt himself as well. Oh, but he's all right now. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it's like I've had my injury, so he can laugh at me. But it's like, yeah, oh, good hell. Yeah, hey heathens. Right, here we go. Next question, number 4. How has the Outlaws changed your view of rugby club teams? What about the gay community?
So it opened my eyes to the gay community and showed me sort of how big it is. It also sort of like wisened me up. And I think it made me mature a lot younger than what I would have been.
So where did that sort of wisdom come from? What was it? What were the lessons that you were learning from it?
I think sort of like the words you say to people, and how you treat people, because you don't know who they are or what they're doing. So like obviously in school, I used to throw the term around, "Oh, you're gay" and all this.
I did, mate.
And then I sort of, let me just shut my windows. Those people make noise.
So the housemate making a noise, is he? You're waking up. Put him back in a cupboard. He's all right.
Yeah, what was I saying? And it's sort of like, I can't remember what I was saying now. You stupid gay.
How has the Outlaws changed your view of rugby club teams, and what about the gay community?
Okay, so it rekindled my love for rugby, because it was like everyone's friends, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's like, even if we don't win, no one cares. Sort of like, obviously we go out to win, and there are some games I'm like, fuck me, we should have won that. But
or how did
we? It's not bothered. But then if I was playing for sort of BBOBs and we lost, everyone would just say I did 100 amazing things in one game, but at the end of that game I knocked the ball on. They'd be like, "You fucking dickhead! Why did you do that?" Like, and that's sort of the difference. But I can't explain it. It made me want to go to another rugby club, and sort of anyone that sort of was rude about it, for me to just shut them up on the spot and just be like, well, if the team's so bad and it doesn't need to exist, why am I just as good a player as you? If not, sometimes better.
I mean, you had the courage, you had the ability, but you're saying it gave you sort of like the knowledge, the understanding. Yeah.
And also, what was the last bit of the question?
It was, how has the Outlaws changed your view of rugby club teams? And the last bit was, how has the Outlaws changed your view of, and what about the gay community?
Yeah, so it's sort of, like I said, it showed me how big it was, and sort of, how do I put it like, Amsterdam, for example.
Yeah.
Like, there probably was not that many straight people there, and that was the time of my life. Like,
just epic. Yeah, it was epic. On the boats, in the bars.
That was sweet.
Yeah, that was insane. It's insane. But it always amazes me. We sort of like, as a unit of people, it's kind of like, you do wonder. It's like, in everyday life, we'd never met. If it wasn't for rugby, you and I had never met. You'd never met chappers, which might have been a good thing. I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's like, and it's kind of like some important people in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the ones you've been to Amsterdam with. You'll always remember that. You always remember that time you got carried out of the bar by Martin Tidy, or the other way around. It depends how we tell it. And the rest of it, singing on the boat. What was it? Singing hats at people. Do you remember that? Kiss, kiss. We went around on a barge, for those who don't know. We went around on this barge, and there was a fair few of us in there, in our bright yellow doobies, polos. And we go around, we're all fairly drunk. And every time we saw someone sitting on the canal edge with the legs off or whatever, there's a couple, we would just say, kiss, 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 kiss him, or kiss him. And they usually did. And it was like, way! It was like the Love Boat. It was amazing. and it felt amazing, because it was like little people smiling. Not everyone appreciates it, but that's life. But it's kind of like, it was done with love, wasn't it? There was no one chucked insults at people. No one made anyone feel uncomfortable. None of that. It was just all inclusive. Like it was such a high coming from that, and that to me is like of Amsterdam. But yeah, the games, we didn't have a great tournament, did we? But it didn't really matter.
No.
It didn't really matter. And it's oh, here we go. Question 5. You've already answered it. So, but here's a question. Have you had any previous playing experience? So you mentioned rugby. Have you played any other sports? You mentioned your kickboxing and stuff.
Yeah, so rugby I've been playing since I was 7 or 8. So like I said, I played for Wellingborough till I was about 16. And then for the Outlaws, and then for BBOBs for like half a season. Yeah. And then now I'm at uni. I'm playing for the uni team. My knees are real bad at the moment, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm probably going to end up playing for the whole Roundheads. I've been to a few training sessions, and they are fucking funny.
How do they? Not that I'm jealous or anything, but how do they compare to the Outlaws? Then is it similar? What's the differences? Is there a difference?
They're just northern. That's the difference. Yeah.
So what's northern? Well, define northern. Come on, mate. I'm going to put you right on that shelf now.
Great accent. Not stuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't
and sort of how do I explain it? They can. I feel like you could get away with saying anything to any of them, because some of their jokes they come out with, you're like, "Fucking hell, did you really just say that?" And it definitely is very funny. But yeah, but kickboxing, I started when I was like 12 or 13. Then I couldn't really afford to carry it on, so I went back to rugby. And then when I was 16, I started again, but I started fighting and going on to the tournaments. I think I've got about 35 fights I've had. I've probably only won about half of them, but
it's more than most, mate.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty interesting. And I'm going to boxing at the uni as well. They've got a great boxing club, and the president of the boxing society is trans, so that's pretty cool.
Bloody hell, that's brilliant. You just wouldn't think, would you? I mean, I find it's a bit of a shame that the uni rugby team are, less friendly, less open, less inclusive than the boxing club. I mean, in my mind, I'm wrongly, I stand corrected. It's my I'm learning as well, but we're all learning. But it's like, you just wouldn't think, would you? And the boxing's leading the way. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty, and that's sort of when I saw him, I was like,
I'm all right.
Boxing it is then. I was like, I'm sticking around here. But yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Because it's quite a similar mindset in many ways, would you say? It's kind of quite a hard thing to do. So you kind of you rely on each other a bit more. And because it's more physically demanding, you kind of try and look after each other more. And I've seen that similarities in rugby. Your opponent is your opponent. Between that first bell and that last bell, they're your opponent. But afterwards, you're sharing an orange or whatever you do. What is it you do now? What do you do nowadays? A whole pineapple? What is it? No idea. Outside of Rambo, bloody hell, Rocky. That's my experience of boxing, mate. I know you find that hard to believe, but yeah. On to the next question then. Here we go. Kind of mentioned this anyway. So thinking back, how did you feel before your first training session with the Outlaws? You've been out of rugby for a bit. You come back to rugby.
Yeah. I was back then. I was a bit overweight as well. That's when I first joined the Outlaws. I was a bit chubby, and that's what.
What else, mate?
That's what sort of. I think getting back into rugby, and at the same time I was getting back into kickboxing.
Oh, right.
So I sort of shredded loads of weight because I train rugby on a Tuesday, kickboxing on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Yeah.
And then I'd go for runs every day. And this was ridiculous. I think that's why my knees are bad.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And then I'd play rugby on a Saturday and fight on a Sunday.
Good God, mate.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet you'd
but
like
it
a
was
lot
sort
more, mate. Have a rest.
But yeah, I was probably pretty nervous, but I was with my dad and a guy called Guy.
Oh,
Do you remember Guy?
I do remember Guy, yeah. What happened to
He
Guy?
had the smile guy,
Yeah.
smiley guy.
Nice.
And Matt. Do you remember Matt Fly Off? And I think it was just, and Craig Fraser as well.
Oh, Craig.
Yeah. All of us went down in one big gang, and it was pretty sweet. And I think I trained every Tuesday and then I think one season I went to training about 4 times, but most of the seasons it was pretty regular.
You can't make everyone, mate, especially if you're doing bloody God knows what else. You're fighting, MMA, you're fighting all that stuff. Good God. It's like fight the training sessions and stuff, just like going down. Did you ever, how did you feel? Sort of like, well, actually, it's the next question. So here we go. I won't jump that one. So, what advice would you give to a new member or someone out there watching right now who's thinking about getting involved?
Get involved because you can be yourself, and if it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, not only does no one care, but they will make you better. Like, you can see it through me. I started off, I didn't really, even though I've been playing rugby for a long time, I didn't realise that I was good until I started playing for the Outlaws. And you've got that, and you've sort of got that support there.
Yeah, the confidence.
And it's sort of, I was just like, oh, these lads really like playing with me. This is quite fun. And sort of, what was I going to say? Like, when I used to go to train, and even still now, when I'm on my way to training, I'm nervous. But when I'm going to, because I know the sort of hostilities, and if I make one mistake, someone's gonna have a go at me, or I just know that. Yeah, but when I'm going to the training with the Outlaws, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait, and I'm in the car, my knees twitching. I'm like, sweet, and then I get there, and it makes me play better as well.
Yeah.
Like, because I'll try harder because I'm not afraid to make a mistake.
Oh, mate.
And I'll run across the pitch and I'll do stupid things, and normally it pays off. Whereas another rugby club, if I ran across the pitch to try and tackle someone, they'd be like, "What are you doing? Go and stand back over there."
Yeah, stay in your lane, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say. I mean, I've seen you in training when you sort of, obviously as an experienced player, you sort of like, someone's not as experienced and they do something, you sort of just try this, mate. Just do this and stand here and put your leg there and do that and all that. And it's like, it's nice to see, obviously, yourself and everyone else as well. It's like, and if they're really struggling, we've got coaches there, we've got people there, people who know the game, who can tell you about it, people who didn't know the game, but have experienced what they're experiencing about the uncertainty and they're not so sure and all these other things. But yeah, it's never go big, is it? It's always about being a dick.
Yeah.
Save that for game there, I don't know. No, but yeah. It's, what would you? So if someone sort of like never played rugby before. Think of someone. I'm trying to think. Never played rugby before. Probably not a sporty person. Sort of like, can you see any of the benefits? So even if you're not into sports, do you reckon there's some form of benefit?
It's the social as well. Like, even if you're not good at rugby, you go to training. It's just mainly banter, and obviously we still train hard. But you can, if you've got a joke, you can just say it, and it's sort of like, what was I going to say? It's gone out of my head now.
Oh, that's all right. Going dark. Kind of, yeah. So if someone's sort of like,
Oh yeah,
like mental health sort of thing, you know, because you know some
Yeah.
of our boys and girls.
yeah. So obviously at uni I'm doing psychology,
Yes.
and I'm going on to clinical psychology. So obviously I'll be dealing with people with mental health issues and sort of serious trauma and stuff. And I've just finished my second interview for the Mind charity to be a mental health support worker.
Oh, good on you, mate.
So it's sort of like, how do I explain it? It equates to that, because more like if you look at the statistics of people that aren't straight, they suffer with more mental health issues than straight people. And there's a reason for that. And that's why there's inclusive rugby teams and stuff like that. And it's sort of, my advice is like get involved, and you can develop yourself, and it's almost like a development plan if you were suffering with mental health. Like you go to training, you could be really good or really bad, it doesn't matter. You set your goals and you achieve them, and your mental health will always improve. Like once you see those goals have been sort of made, and you've like strive for them and you put a little bit of effort in, you'll see the impacts in your real life. And that's sort of what I try to advocate up here.
Wise word. It's like I was going to say. It's like, do you find from, because obviously this is your area, not mine, but it's like I always imagine like a mental health professional, a psychologist, clinical psychologist, is someone who can kind of like find a way to give someone the tools to fix something. You kind of don't. You kind of give them the words and the tools to do that. Do you think that's a fair description? You know, so if you've got someone who comes to you, you're talking to them, give them the answers, you give them the tools to.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of think then with like rugby, it's kind of like there's so many lessons you can learn from rugby, because it's like just getting knocked down, get up, you know, turning up's enough. Getting out of the door sometimes a battle, isn't it, mate? You know what I mean? It's kind of it's a brave thing, and I think it's kind of like a thing. I don't. Do you think? Here's a question, because you're about. In fact, you're bang on half my age, and I'm just kind of thinking. Do you think it's easier now to be young than it was 20, 30 years ago? 20 years ago.
Yes and no. In some ways, like there was no social media, and I think that has ruined it. Like,
mate.
Because like my girlfriend, she's addicted to it, and that like I see so many people with mental health problems just because they don't get enough likes on Instagram, and it's like now I think you don't have true friends like you used to either. Sort of like, because now you can meet people so easy, whereas before you'd have the same gang of friends, and sort of even if you just drifted apart, like how do I explain it? Like it's just I think it's definite. I think it definitely. There's sort of like there was no cameras back then. Like if you go to a concert now, everyone's just got their phone out and they're not enjoying it.
Yeah,
they're just recording it for later. Whereas 30 years ago, if you're at a concert, it's just you and your mates. You're getting hammered and you're having the best time of your life.
Yeah, because you usually snuck in because you can't afford to pay. That's my experience. But yeah. do you think for that then? So like, because obviously I'm not great on social media. As anyone knows me. But it's like kind of like, do you think there's something important about being in the moment? Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So what would you say? So what are the benefits then, as a rugby player, as a young man, as someone who's played for gay teams, straight teams, someone who's obviously at university and the rest of it? It's kind of of all that experiences, can you describe the sort of like the benefits of like coming to a training, first person coming to a training, you know what I mean? Maybe they've not had a good day, you know, they're maybe struggling a bit with mental health. So how would you sort of drag them out of that door, if you like?
So I'll bore them first. Scientifically, you're going to get your endorphins,
Right.
and they are the greatest thing on the planet because they're free, and all you have to do is go outside.
Right.
You're gonna make loads of friends, and eventually, if you sort of struggle to come outside, you'll start wanting to go outside because your friends will be like, "Do you want to go down Boston Friday night?
Yeah.
£8 entry, £1 drinks."
Oh, mate.
And no one's going to turn that down, really.
No.
Like, you're going to learn a new thing, like a new sport. You're going to be sort of, it's a new hobby. You'll normally get addicted and dive into it, buy all the gear. Like, even if you can't afford the gear, my dad will give you the gear. Like, we've got a million training tops.
It's where the kit's gone.
Yeah. But yeah, there's sort of no reason not to do it.
Yeah, the rewards are there, aren't they? Sort of like I think it's sort of like, because I think I'll tell you, I'm sort of bipolar, so it's kind of my thing is kind of like there's certain times where I don't feel capable of doing it because I'm a bit too silly or a bit too flat. But it's like, I know all I've got to do is pick up the phone to the boys or come to a training, drag my ass to a training session. I've been dragged to a training session by Sam and Laura more than once.
Yeah.
Like, sit there and then you sort of soak it in a bit, and then you're right. Kind of, it just kicks in. The smell, you have things like the smell of the mud.
Yeah.
People not talking to you, just talking, and you're there. You know, and someone falls over a cone over there or something, and you know, and you're away, and it's a beautiful thing. The power of sport, man. So, what was I going to say? So, final question. Doesn't mean we have to stop talking, but the final question. So, what 3 words would you use to sum up Northampton Outlaws? Man, no one's nailed this. Go on, son. Take us home.
Legendary. Right. I can't think of any words now.
Well, think about what you said, your experience. So you said, what you felt from being in the Outlaws.
Inclusive.
Legendary, inclusive.
And I don't know how to sort of phrase this in one word, but confidence. You'll get you'll sort of like, it will build your confidence.
Yeah, like you say, that it's sort of like build confidence. You can have that. Put all those 3 together, because Nick's got to edit this. Put those 3 together. Sum up the Northampton Outlaws. If you sum up the Northampton Outlaws in 3 words, what would you say?
Legendary, inclusive, and confidence.
Oh, mate, absolutely legend, brilliant, fantastic. Great to talk to you, mate. I'm not seeing you for aeons. What's the flavour? Go on. I just wonder what the flavour was. What's the flavour of the vape? What is it?
It is strawberry guava.
Bloody hell, mate. Yeah, it makes me hungry. What's the worst one you've had?
Iced mango. Because it gives you like a brain freeze.
That sounds like a shampoo. Are you sure it wasn't a shampoo? Someone just snuck it in. Oh, mate. How long's your course? Is it 3 or is it 4?
So I've got my foundation year I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Then I've got 3 years for my undergraduate degree, and then another 3 years after for my PhD.
Wow. Bloody hell, I think it's 7 years. It's like architecture. Serious stuff, mate.
Yeah.
Proper medical. It will be Dr. Brad, won't it?
Yeah, Dr. Collier.
Dr. Collier. Dr. Collier sounds like a DJ. It's like, and I hear something from the 90s. Dancing to This in the Boston, it's Wigfield, ding, 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 and so on. Yeah. I think Chappers is around somewhere, but we'll just keep shooting the shit till he steps in. It's like I went out. I had a mate at uni. This is years and years ago. I was 17. I had a mate that went to uni, and older mate, and he did chemistry. He did chemistry.
Yeah.
So all my memory of Hull is from about 26 years. So it's like so yeah. I always remember it being a little bit rough and ready, but a bit honest as well. Like there's no one will go out the way to be a dickhead, but if you want to be a dickhead, they're up for it.
Yeah, definitely. There's
the women.
Yeah. It's mainly all the sort of older lads. Like, obviously, I'm one of the oldest here, because my flatmates are between 18 and 20, and like none of us are sort of like. My mates are always like, "Oh, Brad, just knock him out," and I'm like, "I can't. I want to, but I can't." I even once had a bouncer say, the bouncer tried to chuck him out twice, and the guy was like, "No, I'm staying." And the bouncer was like, "I can't be asked to deal with this." He was by himself, so he just went back inside. And then the lad came over to my table and started having a go at me. And I looked at the bouncer and I was like, "Come on, lads. Like, we're going." I'm like, "I can't be, like, in a minute, I'm going to lose it."
It's not worth it.
And I walked out and the bouncer was like, "Hold on a minute, where are you going?" And I was like, "It's almost 10 o'clock now, we're just going to head home." And he was like, "If that guy follows you out, I'm just going to walk back in and you can knock him out."
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I was like, "Fucking hell, all right."
My thanks to the legend that is Bradley Collier. I cannot wait to see you going to pass it on to next. Which exciting individual are you going to get next? Let's see.
Thank you for watching the interview with an outlaw. If you like what you saw, please click like. And if this is the first time you're here, why not hit subscribe for more from our channel? We release 5 every Friday, so let's see who will pass it on next.